Peace be upon you. This is Said Mirza from reason.com, and we're going to be continuing on with our Quran study session. We left off at chapter 9, verse 48, so we're going to continue on verse 49. This is Brother Gerrans' translation, the Quran, a complete revelation, which you can access for free from reader.Qur'anite.com, or you can download his PDF at Qur'anite.com. A lot of things that I'm going to be talking about in this video are not from my own research. They are actually Brother Gerrans' findings. So I suggest, if you're interested in what I'm saying, or if you want to know more about something, then I suggest you look at Brother Gerrans' work, the Quran, a complete revelation, and also his addenda to the Quran, a complete revelation. So let's begin here. In the name of God, the Almighty and Merciful, I seek refuge in God from Satan the accursed. And among them is he who says, Grant thou me leave, and subject thou me not to means of denial, save into the means of denial have they fallen, and Gehenna encompasses the false claimers of guidance. So these men, the context of the chapter is about war, and these men, they don't want to really fight in the cause of God, and so they want to be given leave to not join the expedition. So it's saying that they're saying that don't push us, we don't subject us to a means of denial or a test, and God is saying that they have already fallen into a test. If good befalls thee, it vexes them, but if calamity befalls thee, they say, we took our command before, and they turn away exulting. Now this is the attitude of a practical man, which a practical man is always looking for the best outcome in this life, and that's why when good befalls the messenger, then it vexes them. But if calamity befalls him, then they say, we took our command before, as in we took our precautions before, and they turn away exulting. And this is what the messenger is told to say to them. 51. Say thou, nothing befalls us save what God has prescribed for us. He is our protector, and in God let the believers place their trust. Now this is almost this is a motif in the Quran. فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, and God let the believers place their trust. You'll find this phrase a lot of times in the Quran. This is one of the characteristics of the believers. They place their trust in God. Say thou, do you await for us save one of the two best things, which is that the believers will die in the cause of God and obviously enter the garden, or that they will be victorious in this life, and obviously not only victorious in this life but also get the next life as well. So these are the two best things. And we await for you that God will afflict you with a punishment from him or at our hands. So wait, we are with you waiting. Say thou, spend willingly or unwillingly, it will not be accepted from you. You are perfidious people. This is talking about spending in the cause of God, in this case, war. And the reason that it will not be accepted, what they expend, is because they are perfidious people. Now, this idea, the Quran uses the word fasiqin in a sense of those people who break the pledge with God. So God will not accept anything from them. And there prevents their expenditures being accepted from them only that they denied God and his messenger, and come not to the duty save as idlers, and spend not save unwillingly. Now, predictably, the traditionalist wants to put prayer here, which doesn't make sense with the context. The context is about battle, about war, about risking your life. So you can see that come not to the duty save as idlers means here that they're not really interested in fighting in the cause of God. They're coming up with excuses. Really, that's what it was about, right? So that's what it says, that this is the reason. So let not their wealth or their children impress thee, God, but intends to punish them thereby in the life of this world, and that their souls should depart while they are false claimers of guidance. Now this wealth and children, you'll find this in many places in the Quran, that their wealth and children avail them nothing on the day of judgment, that God will punish them by their wealth and children, because really this is what the practical man is interested in. He's interested in preserving and accumulating wealth, and also for the best for his children, right? And the thing though is that I've noticed that people who are evil, who have accumulated a lot of wealth, their children usually turn out to be scoundrels anyway. So by that means, the children cause a lot of pain to their parents, and that's how God is punishing them. And the wealth aspect of it is that they're spending their wealth in things that are not pleasing to God. And this will be a source of sorrow for them on the day of judgment. And also, a lot of times, this preservation of wealth doesn't really go according to plan, and their wealth is destroyed. So that's another way that God punishes them. And they swear by God that they are of you when they are not of you, but they are people who are afraid. Had they found a refuge or caves or a place to enter, they would turn towards it and bolt away. And among them is he who speaks ill of thee concerning charity. Then if they are given thereof, they are satisfied, but if they are not given thereof, then are they angry. 59. And had they been satisfied with what God and his messenger gave them, and said, Sufficient for us is God. God will give us of his bounty, as will his messenger. To God do we turn in hope. Charity is but for the poor and the needy and the workers with it, and those whose hearts are to be reconciled, and for slaves and debtors, and in the cause of God, and in the wafer, an obligation from God, and God is knowing and wise. Now this jars quite a bit with what the Muslims think charity is about, because it's not about building the masajid. That's what the Muslims think is charity, but it says clearly here what the charity is for the poor and the needy, the workers with it, whose hearts are to be reconciled, for slaves and debtors, and in the cause of God. This has a connotation of war, that what you're spending in the cause of God as to fight. And the wayfarer, now this is an obligation from God. Verse 61, And among them are those who hinder the prophet, saying, He is an ear. Say thou, an ear of good for you. He believes in God, and he believes the believers, and a mercy for those among you who heed warning. And those who hinder the messenger of God, for them is a painful punishment. Now, believes the believers, to me this means that he trusts the believers. And so he trusts in God as well. That one of the things about belief is about trust as well. I was trying to show you how the Quran uses these words. They swear by God to you to please you, but God and his messenger, worthier it is that they should please him, if they be believers. Know they not that whoso works against God and his messenger, for him is the fire of Gehenna, wherein he abides eternally? That is the tremendous disgrace. Verse 64. The waverers fear lest a surah be sent down against them, proclaiming what is in their hearts. Say thou, you may mock. God will bring forth what you fear. So they're fearing that a surah will come down that will expose them, because the waverers, they're not really sure what camp they want to go to, because again, they're practical men. They're looking for the most advantageous position. And this is the thing in the Quran. You'll see a lot of times that it seems like the believers have the upper hand and the disbelievers have the upper hand. So it's going both ways. So they're switching sides depending on which party is dominant. And if thou askest them, they will say, we were but discoursing vainly and playing. If you ask them about, saying to the messenger, if you ask them, were you mocking? They will say, we were but discoursing vainly and playing. Say thou, was it at God and his proofs and his messenger that you were mocking? See, they were saying he is an ear earlier. Make no excuses, you have denied after your faith. If we pardon a number of you will be punished because they were lawbreakers. Now this word lawbreaker, which in Arabic is mujrimeen, if you know, the Quran contains within it the writ. And this writ is what's the covenant with God, the commandments of God. They are breaking those commandments. That's why they're lawbreakers. We're not talking about secular law here. We're talking about the law in the Quran. The wavering men and the wavering women are alike. They enjoin perversity, and they forbid what is fitting, and they close their hands. They have forgotten God, so he has forgotten them. The waverers, they are the perfidious. And God has promised the wavering men and the wavering women and the atheists the fire of Gehenna, they abiding eternally therein. It is sufficient for them, and God has cursed them, and they have a lasting punishment. Like those before you, stronger than you in might and greater in wealth and children, they enjoyed their lot, and you have enjoyed your lot as they enjoyed their lot who were before you, and you have discoursed vainly like those discourse vainly. Their works are vain in the world and the hereafter, and it is they who are the losers. Has not the report of those before them come to them, the people of Nuh and Ad and Thamud, and the people of Ibrahim, and the people of Madian, and the cities thrown down. Their messengers brought them clear signs, and God wronged them not, but they wronged their souls. Of course, this report has already come to them. This was already discussed in the previous chapters of the Quran. And the believing men and the believing women are allies of one another. They enjoin what is fitting and forbid perversity, and uphold the duty, and render the purity, and obey God and his messenger. Those God will have mercy on them. God is exalted in might and wise. And God has promised the believing men and the believing women gardens beneath which rivers flow, they abiding eternally therein, and goodly dwellings in gardens of perpetual abode, and approval from God is greater. That is the great achievement. Verse 73, O prophet, strive thou against the atheists and the waverers, and be thou harsh with them, and their shelter is Gehenna, and evil is the journey's end. They swear by God that they did not say, when they did say, the word of denial, and denied after their submission, and their purpose what they have not reached, and they resented only that God and his messenger enriched them of his bounty. Then if they repent, it will be better for them, and if they turn away, God will punish them with a painful punishment in the world and the hereafter, and they will not have in the earth any ally or helper. Verse 75, see how I was talking about breaking the covenant with God? And among them is he who made a covenant with God. If he gives us of his bounty, we will give charity and be among the righteous. Then when he gave them of his bounty, they withheld it and turned away, and they are averse. Mu'rizun, I was looking into this word because it's interesting. It's talking about people who are not really serious. They're disinterested. Either way, it's one of those people that they all they care about is just fun and games. And he requited them with wavering in their hearts to the day they meet him, because they broke to God what they promised him, and because they lied. Now this is the consequence of breaking your oath with God and lying, is that God has put wavering in their hearts. Wavering in the sense that they are going back and forth. Know they not that God knows their secrets and their private conversation, and that God is the knower of the unseen realms? Those who speak ill of those who willingly give in charity among the believers, and of those who find naught to give save their endeavors, and deride them, God derides them, and they have a painful punishment. Ask thou forgiveness for them, or ask thou not forgiveness for them? If thou shouldst ask forgiveness for them 70 times, God will not forgive them. Is it not that they denied God and his messenger, and God guides not the perfidious people? Those who remain behind exulted at their remaining behind the messenger of God, and disliked to strive with their wealth and their lives in the cause of God. And they said, Go not forth in the heat, say thou. The fire of Gehenna is more intense in heat. Would that they understood. Then let them laugh a little and weep much, as reward for what they earn. And if God brings thee back to a number of them, and they ask of thee leave to go forth, say thou, You shall not go forth with me ever, nor fight with me an enemy. You were pleased to sit the first time, so sit with those who remain. They can't be trusted, so that now it's just sit. You can't fight with the believers. You can't, because they've already shown their true colors. 84. And perform thou not the duty for any among them that dies ever, nor stand thou over his grave. They denied God and his messenger, and died while they were perfidious. Now, predictably, again, the traditionalist uses this word salat here to mean like a funeral prayer, but I mean, it could be all the duties that you would do for someone who's dead, right? Deceased. Let's look at Brother Gerrans' note here. Arabic word, Arabic root. That is to do such duty as is incumbent. See note to 2.3 in article SZC. You can just click on this and it'll take you to that article. Generically, salah means to perform duty. The context here suggests the duty to officiate at a burial, and that is how the traditional understands it. However, this context also requires him to deviate from what he generally claims the word salah to mean. This has nothing to do with a funeral prayer. And let not their wealth or their children impress thee. God but intends to punish them thereby in the world, and that their souls should depart while they are false claimers of guidance. This has already been stated earlier. And when a surah is sent down to believe in God and strive alongside his messenger, the affluent among them ask leave of thee, saying, Leave thou us to be with those who sit. So basically, the surah comes down and it's commanding them to believe in God and to strive. And now they don't want to be a part of the expedition. They are content to be with those who remain, and their hearts are sealed, so they understand not. But the messenger and those who heeded warning with him strove with their wealth and their lives, and those have the good things, and it is they who are the successful. God has prepared for them gardens beneath which rivers flow, they abiding eternally therein. That is the great achievement. Verse 90. And there came those with excuses among the desert Arabs, that leave be given them, and there sat those who lied to God and his messenger. A painful punishment will befall those among them who ignored warning. Now the Arabic here is Al-Arabi, which Brother Gerrans translates as desert Arabs. And then he has a note here. Certainly today this means the Arabs. There is support for the claim at 9101, 120, 3320 that the Quran means desert Arabs of the Bedouin type. All instances appear in the notes and reference this verse. Well, I guess the point here is that whether you're an Arab or you're a desert Arab or you're Caucasian or whatever, I mean, no one is special. The children of Israel, or they were good among them and they were evil among them, and same with those who hold to Judaism and the Arabs too. I mean, the Arabs think that they're superior, and because the Quran was sent down in Arabic, but that's what I think is the context here, that they're not anything special. Not upon the weak, nor upon the sick, nor upon those who find not what to spend is their blame, when they are true to God and his messenger. Against the doers of good there is no path, and God is forgiving and merciful. So if you don't have the means, then that's understandable. But God was talking about here about the affluent. See, it says, where'd it go? The affluent among them asked leave of thee. So this is talking about those people who had the means. Nor upon those to whom when they came to thee, that thou provide them mounts, thou saidst, I find not whereon to mount you. They turned back, their eyes overflowing with tears of grief, that they found not what to spend. So they didn't have a means of conveyance, which, back in the day was obviously camels or horses. The path is but against those who ask leave of thee when they are sufficient, content to be with those who remain, and God has sealed their hearts, so they understand not. Now, this is the thing. This is the punishment of God. He seals your heart. That's it. It's over. Verse 94. They will make excuses to you when you return to them. Say thou, make not excuses. We will not believe you. God has already informed us of your assertions. God will see your deeds, as will his messenger. Then will you be brought back to the knower of the unseen and the seen, and he will tell you what you did. They will swear by God to you when you return to them, that you might let them be. So let them be, for they are an abomination. And their shelter is Gehenna, a reward for what they earned. They swear to you so that you might be pleased with them. But though you will be pleased with them, God is not pleased with the perfidious people. Verse 97. The desert Arabs are stronger in denial and wavering, and are more likely not to know the limits of what God has sent down upon his messenger, and God is knowing and wise. So you see this thing, the desert Arabs are stronger in denial and wavering, but there are some good in them. This is really the key of this. I mean, you can't say that all the people are evil or all the people are good. There's good and bad in all people. See, that's what it's talking about. And among the desert Arabs is he who takes what he spends as a loss and awaits reversals for you. For them is the evil reversal, and God is hearing and knowing. So this is some of the desert Arabs who are basically looking, who are just biding time. And here we have the desert Arabs who believe in God. And among the desert Arabs is he who believes in God and the last day, and takes what he spends as a means of nearness to God and the duties of the messenger. In truth, it is a means of nearness for them. God will make them enter into his mercy. God is forgiving and merciful. Verse 100. And the first vanguard among the emigres and the helpers, and those who followed them in good conduct, God is pleased with them, and they pleased with him, and he has prepared for them gardens beneath which rivers flow, they abiding eternally therein forever. That is the great achievement. And among those around you of the desert Arabs are waverers, and among the people of the city they persist in wavering. Thou knowest them not, but we know them. We will punish them twice. Then will they be sent back to a great punishment. See, this is critical. Muhammad did not know the people around him, see, who were waverers or not. And this opens up a big can of worms for the traditionalists, whose whole theology, whose whole I guess the anchor points of his hadith literature is that the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet, they were all great men, they were all good men, and then they're giving us the narrations of Muhammad. But here, Muhammad himself didn't know who the waverers were with him. This is a real problem for the traditionalists. And others acknowledge their transgressions. They mix a righteous deed with another of evil. It may be that God will relent towards them. God is forgiving and merciful. Take thou charity of their wealth to cleanse them, and to increase them in purity thereby, and perform thou the duty befitting them. Thy duties are an assuagement for them, and God is hearing and knowing. So you take their money, they're giving for charity, and obviously distribute it among the people, as it has been told who the charity is for. Spending in the cause of God, giving in charity, is a big thing in the Quran. It cleanses you. And to increase them in purity thereby, and perform thou the duty befitting them. Let's look at Brother Gerrans' comment here. Okay, Arabic root. That is to do such duty as is incumbent. And here the context indicates specifically the duty to treat appropriately those whose loyalty and commitment was previously in question, but who then repented and contributed to the cause. The traditionalist claims a value here of prayer, that is, the messenger prayed for such people. What the traditionalist means by prayer wanders depending on what he wants to achieve. Here, what he means by prayer is personal supplication or intercessory appeal to God. In other positions, what he means is a highly ritualized process of liturgy and physical movements held to be beneficial to the practitioner and required by God. So, I suggest you look at his notes more in detail. 104. Know they not that God, he accepts the repentance from his servants, and takes the charity, and that God, he is the accepting of repentance, the merciful? And say thou, act, then will God see your actions, as will his messenger and the believers, and you will be sent back to the knower of the unseen and the seen, and he will tell you what you did. And I was thinking about this verse, and I was really struck by how practical it is, how simple it is. If someone does an evil deed, then and they say, okay, I did evil and I repent and I'm going to change my ways, then you would tell them, act, we'll see how you do. And that's what they're being told, act. Then will God see your actions, as will his messenger and the believers. And others are deferred to the command of God, whether he will punish them or whether he will forgive them, and God is knowing and wise. As are those who took a place of worship in harm and denial and division among the believers, and as an outpost for those who warred against God and his messenger before. And they will swear, we purposed only good, but God bears witness that they are liars. So these are the men. These are the men who were taking these places of worship as a place of, as a place to carry out their military operations. Stand thou not within it ever. A place of worship founded upon prudent fear from the first day is worthier that thou shouldst stand within it. Therein are men who love to purify themselves, and God loves those who purify themselves. Is then he who founded his building on prudent fear of God and his approval better, or he who founded his building on the edge of a collapsing cliff, so it collapsed with him into the fire of Gehenna, and God guides not the wrongdoing people? Their building which they build will never cease to be a doubt in their hearts, save that their hearts be cut off, and God is knowing and wise. God has bought from the believers their lives and their wealth, and for that the garden is theirs. They're fighting in the cause of God, killing and being killed, a promise binding upon him in the Torah and the Gospel and the Qur'an, and who better fulfills his covenant than God? Rejoice then in your bargain that you have contracted with him, and that is the great achievement. So fighting in the cause of God, that's the great achievement. I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory. And then that gives you an idea of what the believers are all about. The repentant, the serving, those praising, those journeying, the lowly, those submitting, those enjoining what is fitting, and those forbidding perversity, and the keepers of the limits of God, and bear thou glad tidings of believers. See, it's being rehashed who the believers are here. It is not for the prophet and those who heed warning to ask for forgiveness for the idolaters, though they be relatives, after it has become clear to them that they are the companions of hell. And the request for forgiveness of Abraham for his father was only because of a promise he had promised him. But when it had become clear to him that he was an enemy to God, he declared himself quit of him. Abraham was compassionate and clement. If you know the backstory, Abraham's father was an idol worshiper, and Abraham said to him when he parted that he will ask forgiveness of God for him, and that's what's being referenced here. 115, and God would not send a people astray after he has guided them until he has made plain to them of what they should be in prudent fear. God knows all things. So, I mean, the people, they already knew, because they had been given the writ, they knew what was right and wrong, but they chose to pursue the wrong path, and then God sent them astray. This is the Qur'an-Alone. If you read in the first chapter, Surah Al-Fatiha, it says, and not the path of those who incur your wrath, and not those of who go astray. And so these are the people who have gone astray. These were people who believed, by the way, and then went astray. God, to him belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. He gives life and gives death, and you have not besides God either ally or helper. God has turned towards the prophet and the emigres and the helpers who followed him in the hour of hardship, after the hearts of a faction among them had almost deviated. Then turned he towards them. He is to them kind and merciful. And towards the three who were left behind them, when the earth had become straitened for them, vast as it was, and their souls had become straitened for them, and they thought that there was no refuge from God save to him. Then turned he towards them, that they might turn. God, he is the accepting of repentance, the merciful. See how the phrasing goes? Then turned he towards them, that they might turn. O you who heed warning, be in prudent fear of God, and be with the truthful. It is not for the people of the city and those around them of the desert Arabs to remain behind the messenger of God, and prefer their lives to his life. Is it not that there befalls them neither thirst, nor fatigue, nor hunger in the cause of God? Neither take they any step that enrages the atheists, nor achieve they against the enemy an attainment, save that it is recorded for them as a righteous deed. God causes not to be the loss to the reward of the doers of good. And they spend not a sum, small or great, nor cross they a valley, save it is recorded for them, that God might reward them for the best of what they did. And it is not for the believers to go forth all at once, and were it not that from every party among them there should go forth a number to gain knowledge in the doctrine, and to warn their people when they return to them, that they might beware. And there's an ellipsis here, that you might all die on the battlefield, and the faith die with you. As in, you should always be studying the doctrine of God and warning your people. You need to gain knowledge in the law, in the doctrine, in the deen of God, which comes by reading Quran, and that you need to warn your people. O you who heed warning, fight those of the atheists who are close to you, and let them find harshness in you, and know that God is with those of prudent fear. And when a surah is sent down, then among them is he who says, which of you has this increased in faith? Then as for those who heed warning, it increases them in faith, and they rejoice. And as for those in whose hearts is disease, it adds abomination to their abomination, and they die while they are false neighbors of guidance. Now who is this then among them? These are the waverers. See, they are with the believers, and their whole purpose is in life, if you will, is to create division. Create problems for the believers. That's why they're asking this question, which of you of this have increased in faith, as in putting doubt in their hearts. But what is happening is that it adds abomination to their abomination. Verse 126, see they not that they are subjected to means of denial once or twice every year? Then do they turn not in repentance, nor do they take heed. See, they face calamities once or twice every year, but they don't really understand why it's happening. and that they don't turn in repentance. And when a surah is sent down, they look at each other. Does anybody see you? Then they turn away. God has turned away their hearts because they are people who understand not. Now, this has to do with them fearing that a surah would be sent down that will inform them of what is in their hearts. We looked at this earlier. So now when the surah comes down, they look at each other. The waverers know each other, so they look at each other and they say, "Does anybody notice you? That that have we been caught?" And because they're afraid that that God will send down a surah that will expose them. There has come to you a messenger from among yourselves. Grievous to him is what grieves you. One concern for you, to the believers, kind and merciful. Then if they turn away, say thou, God is sufficient for me. There is no God save he. In him have I placed my trust, and he is the Lord of the great throne. So that finishes up chapter 9. So let's just continue on. This is chapter 10. In the name of God, the Almighty, the Merciful. 10. Alif Lam Ra. Those are the proofs of the wise writ. Now, this Muqattad, as I've alluded to before, whenever this shows up, that means that this is a new book. The Quran is divided into these books. And so Alif Lam Ra, these are the ayat, which is the signs, the proofs of the Al-Kitab al-Hakim, the wise writ. These are the proofs of that, Alif Lam Ra. This is a new book. But it is still the writ. And the writ means the writ contains the commandments of God. And Alif Lam Mim was also, it says that is the writ about which there is no doubt guidance for those of prudent fear. All these books have a purpose. Okay, you need to remember that they're addressed to certain audience and they have a specific purpose. Okay. To continue, verse 2. Was it a wonder to men that we revealed to a man among them? Warn thou men, and bear thou glad tidings to those who heed warning, that they have a precedence of honor in the sight of their Lord. The false claimers of guidance say this is an obvious sorcerer. So this is the purpose of this Alif Lam Ra, this kitab here now that we're seeing. It is to warn men. It was given to the messenger. Obviously, all these books came down to Muhammad, the messenger of God, and they're compiled in the Quran. So warn men and bear glad tidings to those who heed warning. This is the purpose of this Alif Lam Ra. Your Lord is God, who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, then established himself upon the throne, directing the matter. There is no intercessor save after his leave. That is God, your Lord, so serve him. Will you then not take heed? Unto him is your return altogether, the promise of God and truth. He begins creation, then he repeats it, that he might reward those who heed warning and do righteous deeds with equity. And those who ignore warning will have a drink of scalding water and a painful punishment for what they denied. Now, you notice here the wording here says, unto him is your return altogether. See, return, that means we came from God and to him we return. So as I said, it's not directly stated in the Quran, but you can, reading between the lines, my understanding is that we had a previous creation, the first creation, this is the second creation that we are in this life, current life. Okay. Now, those who ignore warning, this is those men who in the beginning in chapter 2 was said that it's the same whether you warn them or do not warn them, they do not believe. So it says they have a drink of scalding water and a painful punishment for what they denied. They did not believe in God in the last day. He it is that made the sun an illumination and the moon a light, and he determined for its phases, that you might know the number of years and the reckoning. God created that not save in truth. He sets out in details the proofs for people who know. See, God is setting out and detailing the proofs, the ayat, which are manifest, where you can see the sun and the moon. And that you might know the number of years by noting the phases of the moon, and also the reckoning. This is obviously an allusion to the day of judgment. In the alternation of night and day and what God has created in the heavens and the earth are proofs for people who are in prudent fear. You will notice in the Quran that the pairs are all over the place, and God says he created everything in pairs. So he's showing you these pairs, see the sun and the moon, and if you go up here, you can see this is your heavens and earth. 6 itself is a pair. 3 and 3, and then you have here those who heed warning, and then those who ignore warning. That's a pair. Sun and moon are a pair. And then also night and day are prayers. I mean, that's this. This is all over the Quran. It's woven in the fabric of the Quran. Okay. In the alternation of night and day and what God has created in the heavens and the earth are proofs for people who are in prudent fear. Those who look not for the meeting with us and are pleased with the life of this world and are at rest therein, and those who are heedless of our proofs, those their shelter is hell for what they earned. So they are heedless of the proofs of God, and they do not look for the meeting with God and are pleased with the life of this world. Now you will notice that this has nothing to do with religions. I mean, you find these people in all religions. Just because you claim you're a Muslim, I met many Muslims in my life who yeah, they're not looking for the meeting with God. They are not pleased. I mean, I was one of them too. They are pleased with this life and they are heedless of our proofs. So God says, those their shelter is hell for what they earned. This is very, this should cause us to think about things. It's a warning. Those who heed warning and do righteous deeds, their Lord will guide them by their faith. There will flow beneath them rivers in the gardens of bliss. Their supplication therein will be, Glory be to thee, O God, and their greeting therein will be peace. And the end of the supplication will be, Praise belongs to God, the Lord of all creation. And were God to hasten for men the ill as they would hasten the good, their term would have been concluded for them. But we leave those who look not for the meeting with us wandering blindly in their inordinancy. See, men are looking for the good. They're always trying to hasten the good. But if God was to hasten the evil for them, then their term would have been concluded, as in he would seize them and for their punishments, he would seize them, and the day of resurrection would, they would be raised up on the day of resurrection. Their term would have been concluded. This phrase means that they would, every man has a term on the earth, right? God has already set that out. So when the term expires, then you die. That's what it means by this. And when affliction touches man, he calls to us on his side, or sitting, or standing. But when we remove from him his affliction, he passes by as though he had not called to us about an affliction which touched him. Thus is made fair to the committers of excess what they do. Now, Brother Gerrans had a very interesting comment here. And so basically the idea is that when you have a severe disease and you can't even stand up or sit down, you're lying on your bed, right? So it says when affliction touches him, he calls to us on his side. So now God helps him, cures him, and now he's sitting. So see, he's getting better. Or standing, so now he can stand. So he's calling to God when this happens. So now he's full of health. He's healthy now. God removed his affliction, and then he just walks around and he nothing, he didn't learn anything from there. He just forgets God. Thus is made fair to the committers of excess what they do. See, he was committing excess. He was, you'll notice in the Quran, it's about moderation, it's about keeping an even keel. So when he was in that dire state, he was calling to God, but then when God had mercy on him, he forgets God. And we destroyed the generations before you when they did wrong, and their messengers came to them with the clear signs, but they were not to believe. Thus reward we the law-breaking people. Now, this is another thing that the Quran talks about quite a bit, is that if the signs come and they're rejected, then God puts a seal, and then further signs have no effect. Then we appointed you successor in the earth after them, that we might see how you will do. And when our proofs are recited to them as clear signs, those who look not for the meeting with us say, Bring thou a Quran other than this, or change thou it. Say thou, It is not for me to change it of my own accord. I follow only what is revealed to me. I fear if I should disobey my Lord, the punishment of a tremendous day. Elsewhere in the Quran it says that we have brought you the truth, and you have a hatred for the truth. So people don't like what's in the Quran. Muslims don't like what's in the Quran either. That's why they have their Hadith literature. They're not going to do what God says in the Quran because it doesn't jive with their vain desires or what, I guess the world we live in, people have to compromise. They want to compromise. Bring thou a Quran other than this, or change thou it. And Muhammad is being told to say, it is not for me to change it of my own accord. I follow only what is revealed to me. See, this is key here. I follow only what is revealed to me. This is really the Qur'an-Alone position, right? Muhammad was a Qur'an-Alone follower himself. It says here, I follow only what is revealed to me. That's it. What was revealed to him? The Quran. Unless you want to argue there was something else revealed to him besides the Quran, and that argument is null and void because the Quran talks about elsewhere, takes that argument. Anyway, so the role of the messenger was to deliver God's message verbatim. They couldn't add or remove anything from God's message. Say thou, had God willed, I would not have recited to you, nor would he have made it known to you, for I had tarried among you a lifetime before it. Will you then not use reason? Then who is more unjust than he who invents a lie about God or denies his proofs? The lawbreakers are not successful. And they serve besides God what neither harms them nor benefits them, and they say, these are our intercessors with God. Say thou, would you inform God of what he knows not in the heavens or in the earth? Glory be to him, and exalted is he above that to which they ascribe a partnership. So, this is just stuff that they're making up. There's no evidence that they have that these whatever these deities are, they're gonna intercede with them with God on the day of judgment. By the way, this is something that the Muslims believe too, that Muhammad will intercede on their behalf, and obviously Christians believe that Jesus will intercede on their behalf on the day of judgment. And mankind was only one community, then they differed, and were it not for a word that proceeded from thy Lord, it would have been concluded between them concerning that wherein they differ. And they say, oh, that a proof were but sent down upon him from his Lord. Say thou, the unseen belongs only to God, so wait, I am with you waiting. Now, see, this is the thing. They back in the day when Muhammad was alive and he was delivering this message, they wanted something other than the Quran, a miracle. And this is the same thing that, in this day and age, too, people are saying, we need a miracle. But the Quran is sufficient. See, they're not okay with the Quran. That's why they said here, bring thou a Quran other than this or change thou it. But the proofs are manifest. That's the Quran is referencing the proofs that we see with our eyes every day. We walk, we see the sun and the moon and the circulation of the winds and the sending down of the rain by God, his mercy. All these are proofs. The Quran is referencing them. And when we let men taste mercy after affliction has touched them, then they have a scheme concerning our proofs. Say thou, God is swifter in scheme. Our messengers write down what you scheme. Now, to me, this means that they attribute, they're grateful to others besides God, when God is the one who sent down his mercy and delivered them. They're not willing to accept that God is the one who delivered them and give glory to him and be grateful to him. He it is that lets you travel in the earth and the sea, when you have boarded ships and sailed by them with a good breeze and exulted thereat. A tempest wind came upon them, and the waves came on them from every side, and they thought that they were encompassed therein. They called to God, sincere to him doctrine, if thou deliver us from this, we will be among the grateful. Then when he delivers them, they rebel in the earth without cause. O mankind, your sectarian zealotry is but against yourselves, the enjoyment of the life of this world. Then to us is your return, and we will inform you what you did. So this is the affliction that happened to them, and then God sent his mercy and delivered them, and then they have a scheme concerning God's proofs. See, this is being opened up. This verse here is being opened up in the verse 22 and 23. Now let's look at this a little bit more carefully. So they travel in the earth. God is the one who allows us to travel in the earth and the sea. And when we have boarded ships and sailed, and then a typhoon or a hurricane or something of that effect came, then they realized that they were finished. They were encompassed. They were going to be capsized. They called to God, sincere to him in doctrine. And see, this is what the word deen means. Deen means transaction. So this is the core of it. They were sincere to him in doctrine. And they said, if thou deliver us from this, we will be among the grateful. See? If you help us, we will be among the grateful. That's a transaction. But they reneged. Then when he delivers them, they rebel in the earth without cause. They weren't grateful to God. Instead, they rebelled in the earth without cause. They caused corruption. The likeness of the life of this world is but like water we send down from the sky, and the plants of the earth mingle with it, whereof men and cattle eat. When the earth has taken her decoration and is made fair, and its people think they have power over it, our command comes by night or by day, and we make it reaped as if it had not flourished the day before. Thus do we set out in detail the proofs for people who reflect. Reflect on this. Think about this. God creates and destroys, and then he creates again. And God calls to the abode of peace and guides whom he wills to a straight path. See, abode of peace as in security. Like, this is not security, right? Our life is full of this stuff. I mean, the ups and downs. We gain something and then we lose it. Life and death, this is the cycle of life. But God is calling us to the abode of peace. For those who do good is the best and more, and there will cover their faces neither dust nor disgrace. Those are the companions of the garden, therein they abide eternally. And for those who earn evil deeds is a reward for evil by the like thereof, and disgrace will cover them. They will not have against God any defender, as if their faces were covered with pieces of darkening night. Those are the companions of the fire, therein they abide eternally. Verse 28, and the day we gather them all together, and then will we say to those who ascribe a partnership, your places, you and your partners. Then we will separate them, and their partners will say, it was not us you served. Sufficient is God as witness between us and you. We were of your service unaware. See, sending salawat to Muhammad, or remembering him, or supplicating to him. On that day, these men will say, we were of your service unaware, because they're dead. You see? So this is what, ascribing a partnership to God is. I mean, it's happening right now. This is not something of the distant past, It's the same with Christians. They're all this supplication to Jesus, he's unaware because he's dead. And on that day, he will basically tell them that, I was unaware. Thereupon will every soul prove what it did before, and they will be returned to God, their protector, the truth, and straight from them will be what they invented. See, this is all just invention. This is all vanity. This is not the truth. So on that day, they will test what they were claiming, and they'll find out that their intercessors will not intercede for them. Because God, he is the true protector. Mawlahum al-Haq. He is their true protector. And straight will be from what they invented. See. Say thou, who provides for you from the heaven and the earth, if he who owns the hearing and the sight, and he who brings forth the living from the dead, and brings forth the dead from the living, and he who directs the matter, then will they say, God. Then say thou, will you then not be in prudent fear? See, men at their core, they know God is the one doing everything, but then they still ascribe partnership to God. I mean, that's the whole point, right? I mean, what happened here when their ship was capsizing, they called to God, sincere to him in doctrine. So this is not that they became Muslims or, they converted. No, this men know when they face calamity, they instinctively know that they do call to God. So I see here, then it says, they know who is directing the matter. They know who owns the hearing and the sight. They know who is bringing forth the living from the dead, God. So will you then not be in prudent fear? Will you then not fear God? God is over all things powerful. 32, for that is God, your Lord, the truth. Then what is there after the truth but error? How then are you diverted? Thus did the word of thy Lord become binding upon those who are perfidious, that they do not believe. Say thou, is there among your partners one that begins creation and repeats it? Say thou, God begins creation and repeats it. How then are you deluded? Now here, it's what I want to bring your attention to is the fact that God only has the power to give life or give death. These things are exclusive to God. God is the only one who guides. There's no intercessors with God. God is the one who feeds. These are attributes of God. So God so your partners, they don't have these attributes. They cannot create. They cannot resurrect. So how are you deluded? Say thou, is there among your partners one that guides to the truth? Say thou, God guides to the truth. Is then he who guides to the truth worthier to be followed, or he who guides not, save he be guided? Then what ails you? How judge you? Now again, this is the whole hadith thing, right? The Muslims say you have to follow the hadith because we're following Muhammad. And here the argument is God guides to the truth. And how did God guide to the truth? Via the Quran. Okay. Is then he who guides to the truth worthy to, so is the Quran worthy to be followed, or he who guides not, save he be guided? Or is the hadith worthier to be followed? It's a logical argument against Muslims. Then what ails you? How judge you? And most of them follow only assumption. Assumption avails nothing against the truth. God knows what they do. And this Quran is not such as could be invented by other than God, but it is a confirmation of what is before it and an exposition of the writ about which there is no doubt from the Lord of all creation. Now, Quran is a confirmation of what is before it. In Arabic, it means bayna yadayhi, which means within its scope, as in the Quran confirms itself, and I've given you examples of that earlier. The Quran will talk about something at one point, and then later on it'll pick it up again and then give you a different perspective on it, confirming it. That's how the Quran functions. So it's confirming itself. The Quran stands on its own. It doesn't need anything else to confirm or deny it. This is God's revelation, self-sufficient, self-consistent, self-affirming. And it is an exposition of the writ about which there is no doubt. And the writ is actually the Alif Lam Mim, which is like machine code, right? You can't really read it. So the Quran is the one that is opening up the writ from the Lord of all creation. If they say he invented it, say thou, bring a surah, the like thereof, and call whom you can besides God, if you be truthful. If this is the claim, he invented it, then bring a surah, the like thereof. The truth is, they have denied what they compass not in knowledge, and whose interpretation has not yet come to them, thus denied those before them. Then see thou how was the final outcome of the wrongdoers. And this is really what it is. So you see, they have denied, they didn't really study it. They have denied it out of hand. And so their hearts were sealed. And among them is he who believes in it, and among them is he who believes not in it, and thy Lord best knows the workers of corruption. And if they deny thee, then say thou, to me be my work, and to you be your work. You are quit of what I do, and I am quit of what you do. And among them are some who listen to thee. Canst thou make the deaf to hear, though they do not reason? And among them is he who looks at thee. Canst thou guide the blind when they do not see? See, they're not using their faculties that God gave them. God wrongs not men in anything, but men wrong their souls. See, God gave us those faculties, but we don't use them. And the day he gathers them will be as if they had tarried only an hour of the day. They will recognize one another. Those will have lost who denied the meeting with God and were not guided. And whether we show thee some of what we promised them, or we take thee, to us is their return. Then is God witness over what they do. Verse 47, and for every community is a messenger. Then when their messenger comes, it will be concluded between them with equity, and they will not be wronged. And they say, when is this promise, if you be truthful? Say thou, I have power to do myself neither harm nor benefit, save that God should will. For every community is a term. When their term comes, then they will not defer an hour, nor will they advance. So every community has a term. Similarly, every man has a term. This is all decided already. And that's when it'll happen. They cannot defer an hour, and they cannot advance it. As in, Muhammad didn't know when the day would come, or he didn't have any knowledge of the signs. This is another thing Muslims keep insisting, that Muhammad had knowledge of these things. He didn't. Verse 50, say thou, have you considered, if his punishment come to you by night or by day, what is there of it the lawbreakers will seek to hasten? Now, see, isn't that something, huh? See, they're saying, when is this promise, if you be truthful? And they're being real, Um, they really want to know, right? But on that day, when his punishment comes, what of it would they seek to hasten? Then is it when it has befallen you will believe in it? Now, when you had sought to hasten it, then will it be said to those who did wrong, taste the punishment of eternity. Are you to be rewarded save for what you earned? And they ask thee to inform them, is it true? Say thou, yea, by my Lord, it is true, and you cannot escape. And were there for each soul that did wrong all that is in the earth, it would seek to ransom itself thereby, and they cannot express their remorse when they see the punishment. And it is concluded between them with equity, and they will not be wronged. In truth, to God belongs what is in the heavens and the earth. In truth, the promise of God is true, but most of them know not. He gives life and he gives death, and to him will you be returned. O mankind, there has come to you an admonition from your Lord, and healing for what is in the breasts, and guidance and a mercy for the believers. Say thou, at the bounty of God and his mercy, at that let them exult. It is better than what they amass. At the bounty of God, what God has revealed, the guidance he has sent down. At that let them exult. Say thou, have you seen what God has sent down for you of provision, and you have made thereof lawful and unlawful? Say thou, did God give you leave, or is it about God that you invent? And what will those who invent lies about God think on the day of resurrection? God is bountiful to mankind, but most of them are not grateful. You cannot make lawful and unlawful based on your own vain desires. God has already revealed to us what is lawful and unlawful. That is in the writ. And again, the hadith literature has things in there that they claim lawful and unlawful when it's not in the writ. So that's the question is going to be that the question is being asked: what will those who invent lies about God think on the day of resurrection? They're going to be in a really bad position. And thou art not in any matter, and thou recitest not from it any recital, and you do no deed save that we are over you witnesses when you are engaged therein. And there does not escape thy Lord the weight of an atom in the earth or in the heaven, whether less than that or greater, it is in a clear writ. In truth, the allies of God, no fear will be upon them, nor will they grieve. Those who heed warning and are in prudent fear, for them are glad tidings in the life of this world and in the hereafter. There is no changing the words of God. That is the great achievement. See, God, changing the words of God here, to me, this means that what God has proclaimed will happen. So he's already made the promises, that he has made the promises with the believers and the unbelievers. That the believers will enter the garden and the unbelievers will enter the fire. So there's no changing the words of God. I mean, you can take it this way, you can take it the other way too, where God is saying that he can't change his revealed word, that is the Quran. And let not their speech grieve thee. Power and glory belongs to God altogether. He is the hearing, the knowing. In truth, to God belongs whoso is in the heavens and whoso is in the earth, and they follow those who call to partners other than God. They follow only assumption, and they are only guessing. Another place in the Quran it says, "Bring your evidence." So if a good question to ask the Christians, if you ever get into a debate with them, argue with them, is to say, "Bring your evidence. Show where it says that God has a son," like explicitly. You won't find it. He it is that made for you the night wherein to rest, and the day sight giving, and that are proofs for people who hear. They say God has taken a son. Glory be to him. He is the free from need. To him belongs what is in the heavens and what is in the earth. You have no authority for this. Do you ascribe to God what you know not? Say thou, those who invent lies about God will not succeed. And enjoyment in the world, and to us is their return. Then will we let them taste the severe punishment because of what they denied. And recite thou to them the report of Noah, when he said to his people, O my people, if my presence and my reminding you of the proofs of God be grievous to you, then in God have I placed my trust. To resolve upon your plan and your partners, then let not your plan be unclear to you. Then move decisively against me and grant me no respite. And if you turn away, then have I asked of you no reward. My reward is only upon God, and I have been commanded to be among those submitting. Then they denied him, so we delivered him and those with him in the ship, and made them successors. And we drowned those who denied our proofs. Then see thou how is the final outcome of those who had been warned. Then raised we up after him messengers to their people, and they came to them with clear signs, but they were not to believe in what they had denied before. Thus do we seal the hearts of the transgressors. See, this is the thing that the Quran is very explicit on, that since they denied before, then their hearts were sealed, and they were not to believe in any other proofs that were to come later. And then we get into the story of Moses, and we're over the 1 hour mark, so God willing, we're going to start on that in the next session. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope everyone is doing well. Peace and blessings be upon you.